How's it going, guys? So today I'm going to show you my process when it comes to coming up with designs for clients, for brands, anything like this. Today I'll be using the brand NVIDIA as our example client. I'm not affiliated nor sponsored by NVIDIA. This is simply like a classroom setting where you would just use something like a brand like NVIDIA. So I wanted to be totally transparent on that. Today's video is sponsored by Milanote, and we'll be using Milanote to help guide us through the design process. So let's get straight into how I do this. So if you're coming up with a brand proposal, or if a brand comes to you and says, hey, we want you to make an animation for us, you need to sort of understand the brand in a visual sense. So you need to gather all the elements that make up the visual side of a brand. A lot of times they'll give this to you if they're hiring you. If you're coming up with a proposal for them, you'll need to gather that yourself, which is what I did here with NVIDIA. So what I did was I just looked up what the logo is. I added that to my Milanote board. I also looked up what the colors are, and I got the hex code specifically because I like to use hex codes in Blender. So a really cool feature of Milanote is that you can just paste in a hex code and it'll show that exact color for you on your computer, and it's super great because I like to do a lot of copying and pasting straight into Blender, and it's super useful for color palettes. You also want to get the font, and what I usually do is I just go get the exact font that they use. I paste the link in there. I also got the SVG of the NVIDIA logo because I'm going to be downloading that for my design process. Then what I did was some research on what NVIDIA is as a brand visually. So I went on the website, I just scrolled around the website, I scrolled around social media just to get a full sense of the creative implementation of the colors, the logo, the typography, all that stuff, to get a full scope of what it is that this brand uses, how they implement this design, all the creative ways, the simple ways that really, I really just tried to immerse myself in their design. Then I went into Milanote and just pasted in some of my favorite applications of the brand's design and their creative sense. And so I just went and took some screenshots. I put those screenshots into Milanote. I also took some links, and you can paste those links in there as well. Just getting some of your favorite stuff in there. Also, for me, super important is the logo. How do you creatively use the logo? So I made a whole other section and just pasted in a couple examples of really creative uses of their logo. All this stuff I'm putting in there as inspiration for myself while I'm trying to come up with ideas and trying to come up just with some inspiration as I'm designing. So now that I've gathered all that information, have it all on my Milanote board, we're gonna go straight into Blender and really just come up with a cool idea that I can pitch to NVIDIA and say, hey, I wanna use this for a conference opener or a splash screen, really anything. So let's get into Blender and design something. All right, so we're now in Blender. I'm just importing a motherboard model that I purchased. I'll put that linked in the description. Now I'm just kind of cleaning up the model, adding a little bit of shading. Most of the stuff that came with the model was pretty good. A couple things missing, so I added my own materials to that. So me just cleaning it up. Now you can see me going to Milanote to grab that hex code because I want to add it to the material, add some little glowing effects to that right there. Kind of pasted that in there. Now we're importing the SVG, the logo. Got to do some modeling, so doing some cleanup. There were some artifacts left in there, and then now we can go ahead and straight into modeling this right here. So now we're just going around adding some bevel. Now we're going to do some shading here. So I'm going to be using Fresnel and some emission to really make this thing, adding an empty to parent it so I can rotate both of them at the same time. So now that we have the glowing logo, emphasis adding to that, making it the brightest point of this animation, and giving myself an orthographic camera angle, which is what I really wanted to do. Never saw orthographic with some of the NVIDIA stuff. Adding some volume, adding some lights to a curve, and then those lights are parented to the curve, that being the animation. Got some depth of field, and we are done. And I ended up getting an animation that looks like this. So that is how I made this, how I got the design, using the style guide to make something really interesting, something really quick, something that I can use as a pitch to a company such as NVIDIA to make some really cool graphics for them. So there you go, guys. That is how I take brands and sort of make really cool animations with them, trying to understand them. If you want to check out Milanote, they are in the description. Hit that link in the top line. Check them out. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you learned some stuff.